I would love to invite you to the discussion in this beautiful moment, in this beautiful story, Zara the movie. We're gonna talk today with klara.wojtkowska, the director and writer of the movie, also the musician, the healer. We're gonna talk with Veronica and Justina, the art directors of the movie, and also with actor Ashley Mpofu. I can't pronunciate it well. I think Mpofu. The movie tells us the story about the unique place, Great Zimbabwe. Through this story, we connect with the magical star lions, the energy, wisdom, the power of ancient ancestors. The story brings me faith that the reconnection to the family is the way for healing the big hunger. And I would love to ask all of you, creators of the movie, what was the experience for you to create this movie? But first, I would love to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us more about you and what's the story behind all of you creators. Klara, maybe you wanna start.
Okay, hello. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very, very honored to be here. And of course, thank you, Natalia. Thank you for leading this discussion and for having us here. We had one actor, Joseph, who may still show up, but he would connect with to us from Zimbabwe, and I think he's having some internet problems. So he was supposed to be here today. And for me, Zara is a story that came to me when I was visiting Great Zimbabwe 2 years ago, pretty much exactly 2 years ago. And it was during the full moon, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the full moon, but I think it was the full moon. And I had heard that the story of the Rozvi Empire trying to steal the moon out of the sky because they thought that the moon was a plate. But I had heard it told the way that it is often told. Just, there were some guys, they thought the moon was a plate. They went up and they built a ladder, they tried to steal the moon. The ladder fell. But the way that the story is interpreted, the myth is interpreted in many different ways. The word plate does not necessarily mean the way that it does in our version, a plate of food. It is also seen as a plate, like a metal plate, like an order of sorts. It's seen from many different perspectives. So when I was at Great Zimbabwe this time, I had a conversation with the moon. I was just sitting outside and I felt like the moon was kind of tapping me on the shoulder, saying, "Look at me. Do you understand what this story is about?" And finally I understood. And when I understood, it was like the whole story was presented to me from maybe not completely from beginning to end, but most of it was just presented in front of me. And I felt very strongly like I was like this was a story that wanted to be told. Like this was a story that came and said, I want to be materialized. I want to be presented in this and this and this way, in this and this and this style. So of course, the premise of the story is hunger, and the big hunger that in a way also animates us people, or we think that it animates us people. We think that without hunger, without our basic drives, we wouldn't be able to to live or function, because our hunger is telling us what we need. But in Zara, the premise is that we are actually misinterpreting our hunger as people. We think that we want, for example, I mean, the king, we think that we want sex with the strange woman, let's say, but that's not what we want at all. We want love, for example. And by the strange woman, I mean the moon. And I say all of this now, and I just realized that that you asked me to introduce myself. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I'm Klara, and I am the director and the writer of the movie. I'm also the director of Mhondoro Dreams Ceremony Theater and School, and that is an initiative that has been building for a few years now, of building a artistic, cultural, spiritual bridge between Poland and Zimbabwe. But really, what it is it's engaging the mythology of the soul of the world to build ceremony in a beautiful way, to build beautiful gestures that can feed us. Yeah, that can feed us. So that's me. Yes. We can go on.
Okay, thank you. I've listened to you with pleasure. So thank you for introducing, and thank you for telling us the story behind. Justyna Rosa and Veronica Rosa, the art directors of the movie. If you could introduce yourself, tell us more about yourself.
About ourselves. I'm a friend of Klara for a long time. Veronica is my daughter, so that's the connection between us. Once I visited Klara in Zimbabwe, and because of this visit, I got to know about Great Zimbabwe, and that was sort of a very striking experience for me. Even before I got to Zimbabwe, I haven't been in Great Zimbabwe finally, because my stay in Zimbabwe was very short, and it was crisis. It was very difficult. But even seeing the movie about Great Zimbabwe was really something very important, and I felt as if I was there some time ago. So I had a very close feeling, relationship to the place, which then Klara described in the theater play. And the theater play for me also was so important because of, as you said, Natalia, about the position of a woman, about also hunger, which I could see in Zimbabwe, but I also experienced it in Poland, because I was born in communist time, and there was a lot of poverty when I was a child, and it was always like this balance between the things that we can buy and the relationships that we can have. So throughout my life, it changed a lot, and I have a lot of my own experiences that Zara in a way mirrors. And we both with Veronica are animators and artists. We recently, maybe about a year before in Zara, we decided to have our own studio. Yeah. Because we didn't want to work in any other company. We just wanted to work on our own.
We really wanted to work on things that we believe matter and bring some value to people and not just commercials. We really wanted to work on things that have a kind of spiritual value, and I think that's everything we wanted was in creating Zara. That was everything. That was a dream project for us. And it was incredible learning about the culture and the mythological aspect of the story. And also, as you said before, it's very true to us as women in Poland. We see a lot of ourselves in the story. So it was very a beautiful experience to be able to work on that, on something that matters and also matters to someone else and matters to us personally.
Thank you. And Ashlyn, if you could introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Ashlyn Mpofu. I was a voice actor in this movie and musician. Yeah, so I don't have much to say as everybody else. It was really nice working with this movie, and from the moment that I read the script, I could tell that there are a lot of important themes in this whole story, and I think that people would benefit from watching it.
And could you tell us, as Gary's told before, how you relate to the story of Zara?
Yeah, so for personally, I like the whole story. Even the surface story, which is like the story of a land where people become they crave for something, and their leader is also kind of crazy. He probably has everything that he needed, but he still wanted to go after more and more things that he could not have. So for me, this surface story, it tells a tale of modern day Zimbabwe, where we have like our leadership. They are not really satisfied with anything. They are only going after personal riches, while a lot of people are hungry, like literally hungry. And apart from the surface story, there's also a story, I mean, a theme of equality. So how women are treated throughout the world. I think it has been changing slowly, not fast enough over the years. I hope that one day it will not be a topic anymore.
Thank you very much. Okay, Clara, you told us already a bit about your motivation to and origin, like how it started, that you wrote in Zara. Then Zara, it was first the art piece, and after all, it became the animated movie. Which I congratulate a lot, and I'm very happy that it happened, and yeah, we can all cherish the moment and watch the movie. And could you tell us the story of the art piece which was performed in Harare, Zimbabwe? So the beginning of the art piece.
Yeah. So at the beginning, the Zara was a theater play in some way, even though I would say that more than the aspect of it being a theater play, it was written as you could say, as an epic. It was written in an old style, which is a style that interests me very much. The old style of storytellers of the, in West Africa, of course, the griot. In Zimbabwe, I don't know if the nyanduri would be part of that tradition, or if it's just the healer tradition. Also, the person who is able to carry a history in their body, and it comes out in their voice. So when we think of theater these days, we have been co-opted by this classical European theater tradition of, we have dialogues, we have characters, we have pauses in which meaningful things happen. And this was not that kind of play. This play came as a very rhythmic poem, which is why we introduced it as a poem. And really the way that I look at the text, or that I looked at it at the time, was this could be done with 20 people. This could be done as a one-person show. And the first thing that happened with it, I took it to the Zimbabwe Theater Academy. And I worked with the students there to do a reading of the play. And it was very difficult text for them, I think, but they did it well, but it was difficult. It's a very multi-layered text, and yeah, so there was that. And then after that, I took the play to Theater in the Park in Harare, and it was and the director at the time was delighted with the text and said, yes, let's do this. Let's see how the actors do. Let's invite people for auditions, and let's gather a group of people that we can work also on the text. We can work on the text in the sense that they will have an educational experience also of learning how to deliver this kind of story. And we ended up, ultimately, we had a 4-person cast, myself included. All the members of the cast were also singers as a part of the play. It was very difficult to put together, I have to say. It was very, very difficult, just the normal challenges of, especially also at the time with electricity and money and the hunger, as Ashlyn was saying, the hunger in the NZARA in Zimbabwe. And then we premiered on October 2nd. We had a really nice audience. We still have some good reviews from that audience. And then the day after the premiere, the theater got a phone call from the police saying, you're not allowed to perform this show. If you try to perform it, you will be arrested, and so on. And that was the catalyst also for the entire fallout of the play. It was really treated, I won't go into details because it's unnecessary, but it was treated very strangely by a lot of the institutions in Zim. And after that, I had this, for me, that was I mean, it was a real change. I think my whole life changed because of that experience. It's very difficult to, maybe for me to still to explain. It was like when your conceptions, your life falls apart and you see more clearly, and you're more straightforward about what you see. So what was clear to me also was that this play somehow irritated, or it was that powerful that it made waves on many levels, and in many ways. But I didn't know what to do with that, because when you're a person on your own, you have a text, you feel the text still wants to speak, but then it has no home. It's just a wandering text. So I was in the US for about 2 months. I had the opportunity there. There were a lot of kind people who said, well, can you say it? Can you say parts of the text? Just tell us this text. And I did. And I was inspired by their response, which led me to perform it as just a one-person show. And I saw that it worked like that as well, as a story, as a storytelling, as a ceremony, really. and then we got a grant, or I got a grant, I guess, but we, meaning the original troupe of NZARA, we got a grant to take the play to South Africa. However, because of COVID and all of those things, we couldn't take the play to South Africa this year, but we had to use that money somehow. We had to rewrite the project, and that was when I think I called Justina at some point, and I said, well, there's this idea to turn it into an animated movie, because it's a mythological play, meaning that in terms of the pictures that are put inside of people's spirits and minds during the course of the story are magic pictures, and they come from a magic world. And both the theater and film have this problem that we see pictures of, we see people, we see things on stage. Of course, we're trying to create a magical experience. We can do lights, we can do whatever, but it's all kind of like pretend, and it's the same in a movie. We're recording people, we see their faces and so on. But if we want to really create a magic world, and as Justina and Veronica did, their artwork is brilliant, and their reconceptualization also of bringing life to Great Zimbabwe. In a way, it's, to me anyway, it's more powerful because it also steps outside of this idea of Great Zimbabwe is in ruins. We are in ruins as people. We have to find nice images, but nice images are also avoiding all of the ugly images in the world. Like we take a picture of something here, but there's a highway to the right, but the camera doesn't capture the highway, but actually that's the world that we're in. And so instead of that, we put the text and the music. The music is very important, of course, to the story, to the images that Justina and Veronica that they drew and imagined and breathed life into, and and I'm just amazed with their work as well, and of course with all of the voice actors and the musicians, and that they were able to catch on to the spirit of NZARA so quickly. It's somehow deeply satisfying. Thank you.
Thank you. And smoothly, we went to the second question for Justina and Veronica Rosa. I would love to ask you, what was the creative process for you with the NZARA movie? I was amazed by the animation, and I really admired how you were able to put that into the picture.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Klara. Thank you, Natalia. Honestly, when Klara called me and said she's got the grant, and this grant has to be, if we make the movie, we have to do screening in before the end of December. And I don't quite remember the exact date, but we had 3 months, and that's impossible to make any movie of the length of an hour and a half in 3 months. And also Grant was obviously giving us some money, but not as much money so as we could have the whole crew. So we knew we'll be together, just as 2 of us, plus Klara, and actors, obviously, and musicians, which is the audio is wonderful. So at first I thought it's a I want to have this possibility to do whatever I can with NZARA, but I thought it will be not as good as I would like it to be. I thought maybe in the future we will redraw it, reanimate it, but somehow this movie created itself. That was my feeling, that we just sat down, tried this drawing and this drawing, and the process was like coming from somewhere else. Not that I had some ideas, but while working on it, the ideas came like from the stars. So it was really amazing for me.
I'm more practical, and I think it took a lot of building structure and building ideas that we can work around. We had this idea of creating this main character, the storyteller, from the beginning, and we really wanted it to feel like a story is being told to the audience. We wanted to go with the theme of what Clara said before, that it's written in a traditional storytelling way. We really wanted the audience to feel like there's a storyteller, the character that they know, that talks to them, that speaks to them personally, and that was very important to us. And the rest, we thought that we really want to just make it very make it feel, I don't know how to say it, make it feel like you are in the story, that we don't
like illustration
for
the story.
It was very important to us to convey the atmosphere of the story that we felt from listening to the music and listening to Clara's acting. We wanted to convey that with images. So yes, it took a lot of research from us and a lot of learning about the culture, and it was a beautiful experience. But as you said, I will agree that it's incredible that it worked so smoothly, because often it's not as easy to just get the flow of the story, get the feel and make it look so good in such a short time. So we're very happy with what we created.
Yeah. And as Veronica said, that there was a lot of research. Clara obviously helped us a lot with inspirational photos, with telling us about Zimbabwe, because we had to find a lot of pictures on internet. But so many of these pictures, we would think, oh, this is Africa, this is something that we like. But then Clara said, oh, that's not Zimbabwe. You have to change it. And that was really a wonderful experience to understand Africa as a whole continent, but also differences between countries, between tradition in Zimbabwe, between tradition in North Africa. So for us who spend the most of our lives in Poland, was really a wonderful adventure. Even if we were not in Africa, it felt like digging really deep down in all these traditions. So really great time, and a lot of things. I think, I mean, a lot of if you draw illustration, usually make thousands of trials, thousands of pieces that then you throw out to rubbish. And here so many things just came suddenly in I don't know, half an hour. Suddenly there was a very beautiful picture. Maybe not everything,
Not everything, but
maybe we still want to change some things, but yeah, that was really amazing process.
and Clara, it was very good to work with as well. She gave us a lot of tips that made us helped us understand better and dig deeper, as you said. So that was a very nice collaboration as well.
And I have this funny story that I have to say. I did a drawing, maybe even a picture painting during my studies. So it was long time ago. And suddenly when I saw Great Zimbabwe, I realized it was Great Zimbabwe. So I was like, there is something that connects me to this place.
That's amazing. Thank you very much. I'm even more amazed knowing that you've been able to make this happen in 3 months, and it's so beautiful. Okay, Ashlyn, I would love to hear about your experience with the movie. How it was for you being the voice actor and musician for the movie. I know that you live in Poland for last years. I'm very curious how it was for you to take part in this kind of performance, so connected to your motherland.
Yes. So the theme of Great Zimbabwe, like you say, is, since it's from my country, it's a theme that I have known for a long time. And I heard this story about people building ladders and trying to steal it from the moon, trying to take the moon down. But I haven't had it being told in this way and in such a rich context, in a way that it brings out so many things, so many concepts from people's lives, from society, from the world, basically. Taking part in this project is something of a dream come true for me, because I've always wanted to take part in a project like this, but I hadn't done it before. So it was a bit of a learning experience. I have learned a lot from taking part in this project, and I also learned a lot about the whole story as well, the story of the Rozvi Empire, and it is something that I never actually thought about deeply, that they existed as such a society of people that were so destructive to their environment, that it led to the fall of their society, which is something that reflects on how we are living on this planet. You know, we are so destructive, and we don't really, I mean, some of us think about how the world will carry on, but as a collective, I think we could do better to ensure the continuity of life on this planet. Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience for me. I hadn't had to use my music skills for a project that is important as this one. So yeah, I'm happy for it.
Thank you very much. I also wanted to ask actually both of you, Clara, who was initiated in Africa, and Ashley, about the Great Zimbabwe. If you could tell us more, Western people, about the land.
I will let Ashlyn start with this one, and then I'll say my piece.
Okay, so I have to admit that in all my years of being a Zimbabwean, I have only been to Great Zimbabwe one time, even though I spent a significant amount of time, a significant part of my life, just like within 50 kilometers of it. Yeah, so my experience with Great Zimbabwe, after hearing all the stories, learning about it, the history in school, when I finally got to the place, it was so magical. It sounds like a cliche. It sounds like no, but that is just the word that describes the feeling of being in such a historic place. I haven't felt like that since I visited Zimbabwe. I've been to other places, but I never got the same feeling that you're in such a sacred place, a place where so much has happened and that has so much meaning to the location where it is and to the world as a whole. And yeah, that's my experience with Great Zimbabwe.
Thank you. And Clara?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a good question. And Great Zimbabwe, to me, it's significant for many layers of reasons. I think that it's definitely a deeply sacred, also ritual place. And it's in the heart of Zimbabwe. It's in Masvingo, and it's on a mountain, a small mountain. And what we have is we have stone. Now they describe it as stone ruins, and the word ruins is inadequate to describe what is left there, because what we have is we have stone structures, we have stone buildings, and the way that the stones are cut, the way that the place is architecturally organized is something so architecturally marvelous that we do not know now how people built what they built then. It's a place, it's like the pyramids, it's like Machu Picchu. We just have no idea. And so that's on the surface, and that's what we see, people around the world, you could say, even our Western culture, what we see there on the surface. This is also very significant because all of the places and the architectural phenomena in Africa that tear down the colonial stories about what people there were like before, what they were capable of, what their culture was about, or just, oh, well, they had no culture before we came. A place like Great Zimbabwe, it doesn't even have to do anything. All you have to do is you go there and you say, oh, right, okay, that's all not true. That's all fake. That's all bullshit. And then and then of course you can have questions, and researchers, they have their own questions about when and how and what purpose, and astronomically also, was there an observatory there, and what people did. And then there are the stories of the people in that area who talk about also the ritual significance of the place. And this is something that, at least as far as I was in Zimbabwe, the people that I know in Zimbabwe, even people like Ashlyn, the people from Zimbabwe that I know outside of Zimbabwe, everyone knows the ritual significance of Great Zimbabwe. It is a place of pilgrimage. It is the place also where the Mhondoro, or the magical lions, first came, or they can be traced back to Great Zimbabwe. And so people travel there, and they travel on their own missions. They travel there, they go there to pray, they go there to remember something. They go there to remember also, who are we? Who are we connected to? It's a place, it really feels when you're there, like Ashlyn was describing, it was the same to me. It feels like a place beyond time. The way that I was told also by one of the healers that I worked with in Zimbabwe, it's a place where if anybody has trouble, if there's a fracture between you and your spirit, or if there's difficulty for whatever reason to make the connection between the person and the spirit, that's where you go. It's a place that automatically builds that bridge, just being there. Yeah, it does a lot of many things. For me personally, it's also a place that I was pulled to. Of course, my story of going to Zimbabwe was quite dramatic, because I was living in the US. This was some years ago, and I got quite sick, and I had dreams, and I was instructed to go to Zimbabwe. And then a whole mess of things happened after that. But the result of which, many years later, is Zara, the movie. But Great Zimbabwe was significant during that whole process as well, because really there was definitely an invitation many times to go there, to connect with that place, to remember something there, to remember something important there. And I really hope that, as far as I know, that NZARA is a mythological movie. It is a magical movie. It is a storytelling movie, but it is also a reminder, I hope, that comes from Great Zimbabwe for all the people all around the world, of remember who you are. You are not this materialist, desire-oriented machine, purposeless machine. You are a creature of beauty with a strong and beautiful spirit that wants to explode in a brilliant show of light, and we all have that desire for that big life, and that is the kind of desire that I hope that NZARA feeds, and that keeps its root in Great Zimbabwe, and inspires us also to look at those mysteries that we as humans who try to write history, that we have avoided for a long time. And Africa is full of those historical mysteries, of course, mainly because history was written by colonizers, because people didn't look at those things, because they were constantly limited by this idea that, oh, well, these people could never do anything significant. So we can't write about that. We can't see what is actually in front of us, or feel what we are actually feeling. So.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It actually made me realize and gave me this faith that we as a human being has this huge potential within us, and it's so needed that we cherish ourselves more. And it made me realize also how much we lack the connection to ancestors, to spirituality, to intuition, but we are so close to history, which is which changes all the time. Someone rewrites the history all the time. Thank you very much for this. I wanted also to ask Justina and Veronica what it was like for you seeing all this movie comes together. So the traditional music, the traditional myth, and all the piece coming to the picture which you created, and how that was for you, and what was the main like what inspired you the most from the story.
I don't even know how to answer this question. I think we already said something about it. It was like, as Veronica said, it was great to because yeah, we had those pieces. If I try to think where it started and how do I see this all come together, it goes back to, I think it goes back to our meeting with Klara, which was because of the concert of our sort of mutual friend from New York who plays mbira, which is a sacred instrument, sacred traditional African instrument from Zimbabwe. And then my admiration also for African culture, which starts many years ago. I was always fascinated by dance and music, and it was really wonderful for me to participate and to be a part of project which combines all these things that I love. And I am Polish, but I never felt Polish. And then when I've met Klara, I could understand I have a lot of thinking, so the way of seeing the world which comes from Africa, which is still cherished in Africa. And
when you ask that question, in my mind, I felt, I don't know, because it was such a big project for us. It was in a way, our whole lives for 3 months were in Zara, basically day and night. We were only thinking about it, and almost only that was basically our whole life. We were talking about Zara all the time. It was just
sometimes dreaming about Zara.
Very often dreaming about Zara. So everything was Zara. So really, if you asked me, how do you feel now when you don't do it every day? That's a much stranger feeling, because all of those pieces that you're talking about, they were coming to us. It was like a very it was a flow. It was just new pieces were appearing and we were connecting them. It's like you had a very big box of puzzles and you were putting the pieces together, and it just feels very natural. But after you finish the puzzle, you're so surprised that you finished it, because you didn't really notice. It just came together. So it was a very consuming process for us, but in a positive way. It was like we were just thinking about everything, all the themes in Zara all the time, and the Polish protests were happening due to women's rights, and we were in the middle of doing Zara as well, so everything just felt connected to this movie. So honestly, it's very hard to answer how did it feel when new things were appearing, because it was just like a river of things that were happening simultaneously. So yeah, so I think that's how I would answer this, that it just felt very natural and very it was incredible to finally be able to hear a voice of a character that we were making for a few months, or to hear music that's going to go with a certain scene, or hear the sounds of the ladder falling after we were thinking about the how to make the ladder fall for a long time. So I think everything very felt like new pieces of the puzzle were just appearing in different places. That's how I would say.
Yeah, and because those movies, obviously every movie consists of many different pieces, as you said, of image, of music, of actors, voiceovers. But if you have more time, then you have more possibility to try to combine it together, and then check it if it works or not. And here we had, because it was such a small short period, then we had to trust that everything will fall into a good place, even if we don't control it. And I would say that Zara is a very, very special project. For me, it was even, I would say, a healing project, because so many, for many times in different projects, especially in animation, I knew I have to control almost everything. So it's the final stage was really good. And here it was like coming from the bigger consciousness, from the
dreams.
From the dreams. And so many ideas came to us in dreams. So really, like, I was waking up during the night and I had, oh no, now I know how to do it. And also when we've got voiceovers, it helped us to create new images, so and movements for animation. It was really it was really a flow.
It sounds very African for me, going with the flow and just following the intuition and dreams. And when we come into the end of our discussion, of course, I will ask our audience for some questions, but as I know, Africa is very connected to the dreams. So I was watching Clara and Ashley, and if they are surprised that any pictures coming into in dreams, and they both were not surprised at all. And I wanted to ask a bit about the culture and the music itself of Africa. If you could share us some of your thoughts about how it's different to the Western world. You both have this experience, as Ashley also lives in Western world now, and how the cultures are different, and also about the crucial place of music, as I see Africa very connected to the music. Maybe Clara?
Sure. Well, I know that definitely Ashlyn has things to say, especially since he's a brilliant musician. Really, really, just an amazing musician. Yeah. So for me, of course, there's really no there are two stories when we talk about African culture. First of all, there is no such thing as African culture, and second of all, there is such a thing as African culture. And of course, it depends on where you are and who you are and who you are with, and all these different things. But for me personally, when I think of, you know, or my own experience of being called to Zimbabwe, I think, of course, of ancestors and the relationship with ancestors, and the way that the traditional ritual life is interwoven with the way that, as Natalia said, the way that people flow. That is, of course, one layer of existence that is somehow interwoven with all of the, even in Zimbabwe, all of the political problems, even the hunger, all of the mess and the situation. There's this root of what is in Zimbabwe, we call it Hunu. In South Africa, it's known as Ubuntu, and under the word of Ubuntu, it's made its way around the world, which is that we are all connected. We are all interdependent. We are dependent on each other. My humanity can only be beautiful and elevated if your humanity is acknowledged within that. I can't be a person without you being a person. And of course, we are not the only ones who are people. The earth is full of personhood. The animals are full of personhood. And the ancestors are with us all of the time, and they're chattering and chattering and chattering away. And they have their own sense of humor. That's the other thing that I very much associate with the culture of Hunu. And the culture of Ubuntu is the ancestors who really are actually very funny in their behaviors, in even the whole story of we as people trying to understand the spirit, and then the spirit being so misunderstood all of the time, but all of this being part of the larger picture of it all being okay somehow, that we try to communicate with each other, and that we misunderstand each other, and that's okay, because that's part of being human, is misunderstanding the ancestors, and part of being ancestor is miscommunicating with the humans. And then after you get it wrong, you say, oh, okay, and then it's somehow yeah, so that sense of humor that also allows for even big and awful things to be somehow lighter, and also them being lighter because they're being carried by many people all at once. That the responsibility of a community is to carry the individual. That the individual also can only be themselves when they are recognized and connected to that community, and to understand that it's just, I mean, for me personally, this was just very significant also in my time in Zimbabwe, in my education, you could say, for the past few years as a healer, which is that human relationships have to also be connected to then the relationships with the ancestor and the spirit, because it's very easy for human relationships and human beings to get things very wrong, for those things to become crooked and broken. So if they are not constantly verified with the spirit root of the material world, then we get into trouble. But then we make fun of the trouble, and then everything is okay. So there's and then also, because of all of that, the recognition of the importance of spirit in things, and to recognize also what kind of spirit is in things. I remember this was actually not in Zimbabwe, but it was when I was in Arizona, and I was part of a class at the university that was led by a professor from South Africa, who invited his friend, who was my sekuru from Zimbabwe, who was teaching at the same university. And he invited him to come and do some music and talk a little bit about culture to this group of American students. And these were young guys mostly, and they were sitting there, and they were waiting for my sekuru, or my uncle, to talk about spirits, you know, this woo-woo things that have nothing to do with them, you know. And my sekuru is just talking about, he's doing some drumming, he's playing something, he's singing something, you know, and just talking about, yeah, Zimbabwe, this and this and this and this, and just telling some stories. And then he asks for questions, and this one guy, he's like, do you see spirits here? Like, do you see the ancestors? You know, people always, they want this kind of, this proof, right? Are you somebody who sees things? And my sekuru, he's there, and he's just this very calm guy. He's like, yeah, there are some spirits in the room with us today. Yeah, I feel them. I was like, oh, spirits, tell us. Yeah, I feel the spirit of peace. The spirit of peace is with us today. I feel the spirit of friendship. The spirit of friendship is with us today. Yeah, I can feel the spirit of learning, definitely with us today. And he just went through this list, and to me, somehow, I mean, the guys were disappointed because they had been hoping for, like, you know, I can see your dead great grandfather standing behind you or something. I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, but it was funny. But it was a recognition of the spiritual quality of whatever we do, and how we are together, and how we do our things in the world, how we conduct ourselves in life. That has very little to do with whether or not I have more money or less money, whether I'm very healthy or very unhealthy, or very sick, whether I'm you know, somehow struggling in this and this and this way. There's still a way of conducting yourself that invites the spirit of friendship and the spirit of love, and the spirit of being proud that I am a child of great ancestors, and they like to watch me walk until I will walk no more in this place and in this way. But until then, I will walk in a way that honors everyone who comes into my life. Of course, those are aspirations, but that's, to me, that's a big part of what I learned also, and what I admire about so many people in Zimbabwe who I know, including the actors of the original cast of NZARA. Unfortunately, none of them are with us today. Maybe hopefully next time, but they are brave people. Very brave people, to stick out the project that they stuck out, to have us shut down, to have that, and then what we did afterwards, what we were going to do, and we ended up doing, even though the circumstances were not clear as to how safe we were, how unsafe we were, but we had a plan to go to Great Zimbabwe and perform the whole play for the moon, to, in a sense, give the story back to the moon. And they all wanted to go, and they all went, and that's what we did. And so I have a lot of admiration for that, for the courage that they showed, which is also important, the spirit of courage. Yeah. So that's a bit from me.
Thank you. And Ashley, if you would like to add some words about culture or music and culture of Africa.
Maybe I'll talk about music and its role in I mean, in the Zimbabwean context. Yeah, so compared to what I have experienced in the Western world, or particularly specifically in Poland, I feel like music in Zimbabwe, at least, it plays a very big role in people's lives, starting from the little things. When, for example, somebody has a child, when somebody gets married, when somebody dies, when somebody graduates, there's always a drum somewhere close by, and there's always somebody singing, or like everyone singing, and this sort of brings people together. These these are kind of elements of our culture that I feel are slowly kind of disappearing because of the disconnect between the structure of our modern society and the base and historical shape of it. Because, for example, Klara was talking about Hunu, and everyone knows about Hunu and how we're supposed to respect each other. But then you look at the setup, the greed that some people may have, the lack of compassion, and then it doesn't seem to connect. So there's something that is just there's a disconnect there. But still, music plays a big role in people's lives. And in Poland as well, I have noticed that music also plays a big role, especially when people are celebrating something and people are happy. It's always a good moment for music.
Yeah, thank you very much. I see the difference that as many African people I know, they all can play on anything. And in the Western world, usually people play on instruments only because they were sent to the schools. I only started to play on instruments thanks to the friends I met. Just to admire the instrument and just to go with the flow, and that's what I see. Very connected to Africa. Okay, guys, thank you very much for this discussion. Again, thank you very much for putting all this film together and inspire me personally so much on many levels. And I know that I will watch this movie many times again and again because I know that it's always something coming from the story for myself at this moment of my life. For now, is the big hunger which I see as a consumerism and the huge need for balancing feminine and masculine in our culture, especially respect to women and respect to, as the end of the movie is saying, respect to the bleeding women and to the blood itself, and seeing the full potential of it. I would love to ask our audience if you've got any questions before we finish. Maybe you would like to ask our guests.
I was incredibly moved by the piece of ritual ancestor community. the elements that you've held together here. This link appeared in my box last night, and I was like, oh, I need to look at it before noon because that's when it's happening. I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's been fascinating to sit here and listen and to hear the heart and the pieces that you put in. So I feel very moved by what you've done, and I want to look at and see the work that you've done. You know, I'm a storyteller as well as other hats, as well as my friend Papa Joe, who's here. And I'm coming to you from Asheville, North Carolina, the mountains of Western North Carolina, just to put what part of the world I'm here from, because we're in different parts. You know, there's many questions I have, but I don't even know what to ask. I guess my biggest question is probably, I want to know what our connection is and what's brought me here and what we have to do together, because I feel like there's something there. So if you have any insights into that, please tell me.
If I can, thank you so much, and thank you for coming for this discussion. Yeah, I would say, I mean, the first thing would be to watch the movie, and maybe that will also clarify whatever inspirations that you have. Yeah, that would be my first thought.
The piece where you describe the group that got together,
Mm-hmm.
when all the efforts against even doing it, and it stopped it, and you went forward and you performed it for the moon. That brought tears. And that felt so important, you know. And I guess probably our most important audience, and we forget so often, is the ancestors themselves. And the tiny bits of meager things we give to them, they return to us with so much. And I think it was Martin Prechtel who I remember hearing saying, but the ancestors, they're fed and they get this bounty from those meager things we give to them. And they think it's so much. In keeping that alive, that connection alive, feels so important. And I think that's a universal truth that's lost so much as we get into the busyness of our lives and to the consumerism and all of those things. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I really appreciate that, because it's true. It's true what you say, and we do forget. I know I forget also, especially when those things are tested. That we have a most important audience, and to stay balanced in our hearts and spirits, to really honestly and truly not pretend. I think for storytellers that can be a challenge, because we often do. We have to repeat the same things over and over again. We have to repeat the stories. We have to perform, but we have to be honest also, and we have to give something real. Yeah, to give something true. Yeah, and thank you. I will be very interested in your feelings after you see the movie. It's really the gem of all of this is the movie.
Yep. It may take me a couple days before I clear the mental space to get to it, because I know what's happening between here and the rest of today.
Yeah. No worries.
Hopefully some point on the solstice, it'd be nice to see it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
We'll see.
It sounds like perfect time for watching this movie.
Yeah, and I have your link down that you sent to me, because I was trying to see if I could get it up on my phone. I was going, will not run right now. So we'll see. Okay, I'll come to you if I'm having trouble getting them. So that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Klara, I thought maybe you would like to explain for the people who gonna listen us later on why it was so important. David reminded me about this. I really saw that you were moved by this story of performing the art piece in Zara for the moon in the Great Zimbabwe. If you could explain why it's so important.
Sure, yeah. Why it was important. I feel, and maybe besides the fact that my own work, doing ceremony theater, or and a lot of it is taking first and foremost the audience of the ancestors into consideration. But that is not, even with that in mind, that's not a one stable, like it always looks the same. It doesn't all look the same. The stories come from many places, and they have even different spirit audiences. They don't always have the same spirit audience. And in this context, what happened was the moon gave me a certain story, or she came, she tapped me on the shoulder, she said, "This, can't you see? And now you have to tell." And I made a promise, actually. I mean, it wasn't like a big formal thing. I made the promise, but it was this sense of, okay, really, okay, fine, I will try to tell people what you just told me. And she said, "Oh, but really, you really, really?" And I said, "Yes, yes, yes." And she and what it felt like was this story, it wanted to materialize, but then it wanted to be given back to the moon in acknowledgement of the place and the moon at the same time. So it was like the closing of a ceremony, the closing of a ritual, to go there and to give honor back to the place and to the moon, to say, this is what we heard from you. And it's like a person, you know, if I'm a person, and I am a person, and somebody comes to me and they say, "Klara, I saw you. I really saw you." And I can't think of any good examples off the top of my head, but I'm sure that I've had the good fortune of being seen in my life. When you are doing something, you're not thinking about it, you're not performing, you're being yourself. And somebody sees that, they say, I don't know, they say, "I see your good heart. I see it. And when you did this and this and this, and when you moved in this way, I could see your good heart in that." And I stop, I say, "Oh, wow, you saw me. Like, you really saw me. I feel gifted by that." And it is no different with in the spirit world. It is no different with the moon. It is no different. You know, we have so many layers of misinterpretations of everything around us. So how beautiful is it when we come to, in this case, the moon, but it could be something else. It could be the sun. It could be a tree. It could be the earth. It could be a rock. It could be whatever. It could be you, Natalia, you know, and I say, I see you. I see you, and I'm going to tell you the story of you in such a way that you can continue, you can be relieved of some lie that has been sitting on you, that has been hurting you, actually. And that's really also what diviners do. That is the work of divination. That is the work of healing, is to tell the story in such a way that we can be relieved and we can continue on as our true selves, not making choices or decisions from these misinterpretive places. So it felt very important, but it was very difficult. It was very difficult because our troubles, they continued to, the formal, the security and all that troubles, they continued with us there. But I'm very glad that we ended up doing that. Yeah. I'm very glad that now we can tell the story through the movie for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you. And for moon all over the world, which is even more further. I appreciate that so much, especially that it made me realize that it's so different to what we are taught in Western world, in a sense of not having respect, and that this world nowadays works in so not mutual way. So we sterilize the soil and we expect and demand, but not having respect and not wanting to say thank you. So for me, seeing the moon or the place or the rock as or the soil as a person makes me realize that maybe it's all about this, that we just can't we haven't got this perception, and maybe that's because that's why we lack this connection. And I hope that more and more people come to this realization. I really invite all of you to watch the movie if you didn't see it yet. I invite you to write us the emails and comments wherever you want, and tell us what you got from the movie. I thank you, all of you creators, for making it happen. I admire your hard work, and for sure we're gonna meet again for discussion, maybe in next month. Um, if you would like creators to tell anything for the end before we finish, that's the moment. Now for me, I thank you, all of you.
Well, thank you, Natalia. Thank you, all of you. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
From